Hello everybody, I am back as promised with part 2 of my total eclipse preparation videos. So if you haven't seen part 1, go back and watch that. I'll tag it up in the corner or in the description. And then this is going to be part 2, which is my preparation video. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you can come back to this and reference it if you need to, and also to see the whole series that we're doing on the total eclipse for this year. The total solar eclipse is happening in the United States on Monday, April 8th, 2024. So make sure you mark your calendars and take the day off or get a little free time in the afternoon and check it out. This is going to be my prep video to kind of help you prepare and really kind of realize how cool it is, and that you may need to put a little bit more effort into it if you really want to have the best experience possible. All right, so my first tip category is to plan ahead, which kind of goes without saying, but do a little bit of research. If you're seeing this kind of information start to pop up, maybe it's really something you should pay attention to. So you need to start to look at your location and see where you need to go to be within the path of totality. Totality means the point at which the moon is fully in the center of the sun and covering it. There are other places in the country that are going to get partial eclipses, so you'll see a little bit of a bite taken out of the sun, but totality, you can find it on a bunch of websites online. You'll see a map of the path kind of going all the way from Mexico and Texas all the way up through Maine and parts of Canada. So check out where you are and see where you can go that's the closest to the path of totality. The other thing you want to make sure that you're paying attention to is the weather. If you are standing in a rain cloud, it is not going to show up. If it is snowing where you're at, it is not going to show up. You may see the atmosphere get dim and then brighten up again, but you are not going to see what's happening on the surface of the moon and the sun and all the things that are going on around it. So make sure that you try as best you can to be flexible in your schedule and look for a place that is outside of the weather. Pay attention a couple days in advance, and then maybe be flexible to move if you need to, or if you can. I know not everybody can do that. Make sure that you pack for whatever situation that you're going to. I know a lot of people camp out for it, but if you're traveling any amount of distance, bring some snacks, bring water, make a day of it. Make it fun. A lot of people buy matching t-shirts, or they get a t-shirt from the location that they're at. A lot of places are selling t-shirts, so look for that. Plan ahead and make sure that you have all of the equipment that you need. Make sure that you have filters for your camera. Make sure that you have glasses. You need special filtered glasses that are going to protect your eyes from the sun's rays. You're never supposed to look directly at the sun, and you're going to want to do that a lot while you're watching the eclipse, so you need special glasses to protect your eyes. You also need filters on your camera, so you can't just shoot straight through the camera. Make sure that you have all of your equipment, all of your fun snacks, all of your, t-shirts and clothing items that you might need, chairs for hanging out. It's going to be a couple of hours that you're going to be outside potentially. So make sure that you're prepared for that. I actually have an Amazon storefront with a lot of my suggested items down below. All the way, if you're just a novice and you want the paper, kind of inexpensive glasses, all the way to expensive, camera gear and filters and binoculars and things like that, and everything in between. So check out the storefront if you want some ideas of what to purchase. Where we are is in Indiana. We're here in Indianapolis. We're probably going to most likely travel to southern Indiana, where it's a little bit longer of an eclipse length. So depending on where you're at, you're going to see totality for longer. Just look those things up for your location. There are some good NASA-based websites that will give you timing for where you're at. You can geolocate yourself on the map, and it will kind of play out what the eclipse is going to look like. So check those out in advance. For us, the eclipse is going to start around 1:40 in southern Indiana, about 1:50 if you're in Indianapolis. And the start of the eclipse is just the very beginning part where the moon starts to cross in front of the sun. That's called first contact. And so then you're going to have about an hour to an hour and a half until the moon travels all the way in front of the sun, and you get your maximal totality, your total eclipse. So that's going to happen for us a little after 3 o'clock, 3:05, 3:06, depending on where you're at in the southern Indiana to Indianapolis range, anywhere in there. And then the maximum totality, which is what that's called, when the moon is directly in the center of the sun, it's going to last anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes-ish, depending on where you are at on that line of totality underneath that shadow. So just pay attention to where you are in the US and kind of time that out. I've got some other recommendations and apps in a little bit that will help you do that. My next category for eclipse prep is protection. And I've already kind of alluded to it a little bit. The main thing that you need to do is protect your eyes. You need to protect your eyes and your camera. If you're using a DSLR or any camera with a sensor, You need to protect your camera sensor, so you need a filter in front of that. You need to protect your eyes. You cannot look through any kind of camera directly at the sun. That light gets concentrated down into your viewfinder and can burn your retina. It's true. It happens. And so you really need protection. That's why they make those glasses. You can buy the paper filter glasses and those work pretty well. You just need to make sure that they're not damaged. There's no creases, there's no pinhole cuts or anything wrong with it. They need to be in good condition. And then you can use those to look at the sun. You may also want to get binoculars with filters. Usually binoculars will come with additional filters that you will put on them. If you're going to use a telescope, same thing. You need to get a filter for the front of it that has the same, diameter, circumference of your, whatever the front of your telescope is. So check that out online. I've got some recommendations down below of some good filters with good reputable brands, Celestron, things like that. So make sure that you're paying attention to what you're getting. The other thing you need for protection is going to be things like food, water, snacks, potentially gasoline, bathroom facilities, things like that. There are places where it will get very, very crowded. Everyone who wants to see this is converging on the same line and path through, United States. And so people are going to come from all over the world, depending, and who knows where they're going to end up. When we went in 2017, it was easy to get in because people trickled in at different times of the day. They started early in the morning. Some people camped out the night before. So it was a little more spread out as to when people arrived. But when it's over, and everyone leaves at the same exact time. And so traffic was terrible getting home. We were, I think, about 4 hours normally of a drive from Hopkinsville, Kentucky back to home in Indianapolis. And that took forever. I think we left at maybe like 4 o'clock. It probably took us 7 hours to get home because it was bumper to bumper, super slow on not main highways, because you have to, depending on where you're going, you may not be just right off a main road. So plan for needing snacks, facilities, do all that stuff before you leave. The other thing you may not have is cell service. With so many people kind of overloading potentially the cell phone towers, you may run low on cell service. So be prepared for that. Pack batteries, you may not, if you're out in the middle of a field watching, you may need to have a way to charge things back up. And so bring your battery packs, things like that. Last year, we even brought like a marine deep cycle battery that we could plug into an inverter for extra power. The last time we had the eclipse, it was in August and it was very, very hot. And so we brought those types of batteries to also power fans and things like that to keep us comfortable. So make sure that you plan ahead. Maybe this time, because it's in the spring, or depending on where you are, northeast, it may be cold. So you may need a heater, something like that. So just plan to protect yourself that way so that you can be comfortable for the several hours that you may want to stay outside and watch what's happening in the sky. My next eclipse prep is really about the eclipse itself and what is going on around you. It is a full sensory experience. It is not just visual with your eyes. Depending on where you're at and who you're with, and if you're in a crowd of people, it may be hooping and hollering and there's going to be all kinds of energy around you, which is really exciting. But what's going to happen is you're going to probably first notice that it's going to start to get dim and dark. The light around you is going to change. You are starting to be in a shadow. You're in the shade of the moon. The other thing you may notice is that the temperature is going to change. It's going to get cooler. Pay attention to that. For us, when it was summertime and like 95 degrees, it dropped probably 15 or so degrees to a much more tolerable, 80 degree temperature in the minutes right before and during and after the eclipse. So that may happen. The other thing that's going to happen visually is that as the shadow moves over and once totality hits, you're going to notice that there is no place where the sun has actually set. You will see what looks like sunset or sunrise 360 degrees. So it will be dark in the sky, but it will be lighter down below on the horizon. So it's just going to look cool. Take a look around, spin around, and notice that it's still light everywhere you can see right on the horizon. If you're in a bunch of trees, if you're in like the forest or on a trail or something like that, where there's tons of tall buildings, you're not going to notice that as much. So ideally, I would say be somewhere rural, be somewhere flat and open where you can see more than just what's happening directly above you. The other thing that might happen is that you start to hear things that are different. You're going to hear the people around you, but you also may hear things changing with the animals and the bugs and the things that are in the environment, they may start to think that it is dusk or it is morning, and so they're going to start behaving like they do then. So, you know, deer come out in the morning and at dusk. And last time we were out in the summertime, the cicadas were out and they started chirping and making their noises when it started to get dark, because they thought it was what they do when they normally start to get dark at dusk time. But things may happen at the wrong time, like they don't seem like that should be happening right then. So think about the animals and the bugs and the nature around you, what's going on. Sometimes right before and right after totality, you can possibly see something called shadow bands, which is kind of like a wavy lines on the grass or on like flat buildings. We didn't notice that so much last time. And I think that that's like kind of like heat and light traveling through the atmosphere, and that wavy, kind of like when you see a mirage, those kinds of things, but it shows up on the ground. That may be something that you can see depending on where you're at too. We didn't see that as much last time. We didn't notice it. There's all these phenomena that happen that you don't ever see on a regular basis, but it's something that's happening all the time. You just can't perceive it with your eyes or with your other senses normally, because it's too bright, or it's just not a situation that we experience that often. So that's why it's so cool and something that you should try to make some time to participate in my opinion. The other thing that you can notice if you're looking at the sun through your filters, ideally through your telescope or some sort of magnification binoculars, is if you look close enough, you will see, most likely you will see sunspots. So it's something that we see in pictures and NASA Hubble photographs, but you can actually see them with your actual eyes in real life, not your bare eyes. You need to have your filters on, because obviously when the moon is in front of the sun, you can't see sunspots because it's covering it up. But before that and after that, you can see sunspots. And so we were definitely able to see that last time. Okay, so here's how the eclipse works. It's happening. So all day long, you've started to have your eclipse. You've had first contact, and now this moon is slowly moving in front of the sun. It's a whole lot of hurry up and wait, and then hurry up again. So it goes slow, 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 and then things happen really fast. And so things change really quickly. And so all of a sudden, like this shadow comes and boom, you're in the eclipse. And so you're going to want to pay attention, and you're going to want to try to take it all in, but it's really quick. It only lasts 3 or 4 minutes. So you're going to notice that it's going to get cooler and it's going to get dark. And all of a sudden, you're going to be able to see stars and planets, and even I think there's a comet. As soon as the moon is fully in front of the sun, and you get that little black speck, you may not even be able to see anything through your glasses anymore. You can take your glasses off carefully. And then you can look straight up at the sun. You can also take your filters off of your binoculars and cameras. You actually will want to, because you won't be able to see anything. It'll be way, way too dim. You need to take everything off, and that's when you can start taking your pictures, and you can look directly at the sun, and you can take it all in. And so when totality hits, and you'll probably know, either you've set a timer or the people around you will know, will let you know, take your glasses off. It's safe. You can look at the sun and the eclipse without any eye protection on for those 3 minutes or so when it's in totality. As soon as totality is over, you will want to put those glasses and those filters back on. The cool thing that you will see with your bare eyes, no filters, once the moon is in front of the sun, is the corona. That word has gotten a bad rap lately, but that's not what it means. It is the sun's rays and kind of the energy coming off of the sun that you can't see on a regular basis. Normally, the sun is far, far too bright, and it just kind of blows out everything in this whole sky. You can't see the actual sun and what's happening on the surface of the sun, except when the moon is covering it up enough to let you see around it. It's kind of like when you stare at an oncoming headlight, it kind of just covers up the whole hood of the car. You can't really see. But when the moon is in front and you've blocked enough of that light, you can see what's going on around it. And so you can see the corona, which is only visible during a total eclipse. So take note of that, especially if you have binoculars or magnification. That's the best thing you can do. Otherwise, you can just see that little black spot in front of the sun. But you'll be able to see that, and you'll be able to see the stars and all the other cool stuff that's happening in the atmosphere and in the sky. The other thing that you may be able to see, easier again with magnification than with your bare eyes, are what's called solar prominences. And so it kind of looks like an eruption of like a volcano off the side of the sun. It's actually a plasma ring that kind of connects between sunspots. And so it's this stuff that shoots off the side of the sun. You've probably seen it in pictures or it feels like a eruption, but that's not exactly what it is, because the sun is a ball of energy and it's made out of different stuff. It's not lava, but it feels like that. It's like a fire that's shooting off of it. And so those are kind of cool because they're red. Most everything else that you're going to see is going to be white or bluish, cool tones, but there's sometimes these red prominences that are only visible, again, because they're not being blown out by the full power of the sun. So those are cool. Make sure you see those. Pay attention to those if you can. And then as the moon is about to be done and it's passed completely in front of the sun, you're going to start to see you may start to see what's called Baily's beads. And so they're these little balls of light that are actually the sun peeking through the peaks and valleys of the surface of the moon. So you know the image of the surface of the moon, there's all these craters and valleys and things like that. And so the sun is starting to peek through the first bits of that, and it makes these little balls of light that are called beads, because they look kind of like pearls, and so they're called Baily's beads because of who probably coined the term. So that's something that you'll see, and then right as that starts to happen and those little pieces of light start to kind of converge into one big piece, you'll see what's called the diamond ring, and it's for just a couple, like 1 second or two. It's when that light starts to come, and what happens is you've got a real thin circumference of the sun that's still visible behind the moon, and then you've got this kind of strong ball of light at the very end of it, and so it looks like a diamond ring. It's like a ring with this ball of light on the side. It's depending on how the moon is tracking, but that's something else that you can look for. So those are actual terminology and coined things that are vocabulary that are related to the eclipse. So those are things that I wanted to make sure that you knew were things to know about. You know, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. So those are things that we were able to see last time that were really cool. Sunspots, solar prominences, diamond ring, maybe shadow bands if you're lucky enough, and then the corona. That's the big thing that everybody wants to take a picture of. And then you'll start to notice the reverse happen. So it'll start to get brighter and the temperature will start to get warmer and all that stuff will start to go away. But once totality is over, a lot of people leave. But that's not the end. Like, that's totality, but there's all this left where the moon is still passing through until its very, very end. So, you know, if you really want to take all the pictures, you got to stay for the whole thing. And so here in Indianapolis, according to my calculations, the very first contact will start at 1:50, and then final contact is until 4:23 Eastern. So that's several hours of the whole process of the moon. But what's crazy is that feels like forever, but the part that is the totality, it is very fast, and things will go fast, and there's so much to take in. You just want to make sure that you're able to do it and not fumbling with your camera, or, you know, hopefully the people around you don't need anything in that time so you can really take it. The other thing I want you to check out that will be really, really helpful are apps on your phone. So last time we went, we had an app that was called Solar Eclipse Timer. And this is an app that will talk to you. You tell it your location. I think there are some purchases inside. It's like $3, a couple dollars. But it's totally worth it because it talks to you on a timer based on your location. And so it will give you like a warning, like 2 minutes until first contact, 2 minutes until this. And it will also say, it will give you those tips like look for the diamond ring, or look for the corona, or take your glasses off, or put your glasses back on. It will give you that kind of advice so you don't have to worry about what's going on. You can just hear that and respond. So the apps are great. There's another app that I've not used it, but it's called the Eclipse app in the App Store. And so that's another one that talks to you. I think there are some in-app purchases as well. And then another one that I found is called Totality by Big Kid Science. And so there's some videos in there that are also educational. It talks about how to make a pinhole camera. That's something you might want to do with kids. If you poke a pinhole in anything and then aim it at the ground, if you don't have the glasses, if you don't have filtered lenses, you can poke a pinhole or use a colander or anything with hole in it, and you can focus the light through it, and you will see an image, the shadow of what's going on, of the eclipse on the ground. So you concentrate that light, and you can see in shadow form, so you're not staring straight at the sun. You'll see the shadow on the ground. You may want to get like a piece of poster board so it's not like in the grass or concrete that you can't see very clearly. Something flat to look at, and you focus that down. You can look through a pinhole camera. There's instructions on how to do that on the Totality app and on other websites and things like that. Check out those things, Google it, make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on around you. It's more than just like a black hole in front of the sun. So those are my tips and tricks. I hope you like this video. Make sure again that you hit like and subscribe so that you can come back. We are going to try to do a live stream if weather permitting, it all turns out that we are in the right place at the right time, and Wi-Fi permitting, I'll try to be on live stream here on YouTube. So make sure you hit your notification bell so you'll know when we go live. And then I'll also do another vlog after it's all over. So you'll be able to see our experience doing the eclipse. Hopefully it works out. It's a big deal for our family. We went to the last one, and so we've been kind of counting down, waiting for this one, because now my kids are older and they're able to actually sort of understand what's going on. So definitely try to participate. And again, like I said, I hope that you find this video interesting, and I hope that you enjoy your eclipse day. Thanks for watching. Bye.